Hi guys, so Matt Hancock was on Sky News to talk about why his administration, his government is reopening the economy, why they're easing the lockdown, even though the R number is increasing in parts of England.
I'm keen to move on now to the government's response to coronavirus and COVID-19, because the Sunday Times is reporting this morning that Boris Johnson has ordered ministers to start lifting the lockdown more quickly in order to save up to 3.5 million jobs. And those new measures signed off at a meeting with the Chancellor on Friday night. Is that correct?
We've got a clear plan. And we're working through that plan. That plan does involve the reopening, subject to ensuring that it's safe, the reopening of the remaining retail that isn't currently open in a week's time. And I know you're addressing that later on this on the programme.
So, okay, they have a plan to reopen the economy if the situation is safe. I don't think the situation is safe, but he has his plan.
And we're working through that plan. The plan and the strategy hasn't changed. It's a matter of working through it. And of course, always doing that with safety front of mind, cautiously progressing. Now, we are making significant progress against this virus. We protected the NHS and we've bent the curve down so there's fewer and fewer new cases, and that is a good thing, but we've got to get that number of new cases right down so that it is safe, and then we've got to...
Right down to where? Right down to 0? Down to under 100? Down to 50? Where is right down? Can you give us a number? So a number that we can identify and say, okay, you have achieved your goal.
To hold it down, both through being very cautious on the national lockdown measures, and also, of course, introducing more local action to be able to deal with local flare-ups when we find them.
You are emphasising how important it is to have a safety-first approach to it. You've always said, along with the Prime Minister, that you'll be guided by the science. And the R rate, the rate of infection, is something that you've talked about a lot, the need to keep that below 1. But a study out this week, a model from Cambridge University and Public Health England, has said that R has risen in all regions and it's above 1 in some regions, and that these increases may result in the decline in the national death rate being arrested by mid-June. If that is the case, then why are you pushing ahead with easing the lockdown?
Yeah, well, the straightforward answer to that is that we take into account a number of models, just over...
Okay, so she has laid it out quite simply. So she said that you have always talked about having the R number down below 1. Now we see that the R number is increasing, and in some cases, in some parts of the country, it's above 1. Now, what are you going to do about that? Well, we have different models, we follow different models. So you're ignoring the question and you're ignoring the science. We know that the R rate is going up because you eased the lockdown. The scientists were probably telling you that, but you ignored them.
There are several models that we take into account through SAGE. SAGE brings that advice together. You mentioned one model, and the same day that was published, a more direct measurement through the Office of National Statistics showed that the number of new cases per day had fallen.
Matt, this is not unemployment figures that you can massage the numbers to make it look better. This is something more serious. I can't believe that he's going down this road. Well, look, the one body has created this model, and we're going to reject that model because we don't like the numbers in that model. We're going to go with a different model because we like the numbers in the other model. That's how it works. That's how the politicians look at these models. They don't care about reality. They care about what looks better for them in order to present it to the public. This is not following the science. The government has never been following the science. They're picking and choosing which models they want to use on a specific day, on a particular day. And you can imagine if the Cambridge model had a lower rate, they would be going, yes, the Cambridge one is the one to go with. This is ridiculous, and it's extremely dangerous.
And from around 8,000 to around 5,500, which obviously is a very good progress.
We're talking about R because you are the ones who put that at the heart of your response.
Yeah.
Of course, because they thought it would be something they could use to manipulate the public. Okay, we have this simple number. Once it's below, there was no foresight. There was no long-term thinking. This is the problem with the Tories. Everything is tactical. Everything is, what can we sell to the public today, hoping that they will forget about tomorrow? They kept banging on about this R number, saying we have to have it below 1, it has to stay below 1. Now that it's gone above 1, they're trying to ignore the science. They're trying to ignore the statistics and the information. Oh, well, it's not, your model with the R isn't correct. Wouldn't you decide to be cautious and say, whatever model produces the number above R, we better go with that? Isn't it better to be, safer than sorry? Play it safe than be sorry about it. But he's not. He's attempting to massage the numbers, to manipulate the numbers in order to keep the R number down.
Right. So I was just going to come on to that. Absolutely. So my point is, what you shouldn't do is look at one particular report and say that is the answer. You should look right across the board at all of the different measures that are taken into account. And the scientists bring this together through SAGE. And SAGE's overall view is that R is between 0.7 and 0.9, and that it is...
Can you get SAGE to publish this information? No, you won't allow SAGE to publish this information. Why won't you allow SAGE to publish this information? Is it because you're afraid that the public will actually see through your scam, your facade? This is what it's all about. It's about receiving numbers, manipulating the numbers to make it look good, and then selling it to the public as a victory. In this, they do exactly the same thing with unemployment numbers.
Is below 1 in each region of the country. But you're right, Sophie, that there are some areas where we think R is a bit higher than elsewhere, including...
It's a bit higher. It's above your threshold. You are the one who said we don't want to go above 1. But above 1 is a scientific fact, because once it goes above 1, it means the virus will spread exponentially.
Including the northwest of England. And we've got to make sure that where there are localized outbreaks, we absolutely tackle those, working with local directors of...
And what is your plan? What are you going to do? We now know that you're in this situation. It's like saying, well, if there is a fire, I will have a fire extinguisher ready. Okay, there is a fire. Where is the fire extinguisher? Well, I'm planning to buy a fire extinguisher next week. No, we need the fire extinguisher now. There is a fire now. You said when there's a fire, we will have a fire extinguisher. Now there is the fire. Where the hell is the fire extinguisher? Matt Hancock's plan is we'll buy one next week when the shop's open.
Of public health. And so this is an important part of how we tackle the next phase, which is where there's a local outbreak, we take local action.
With the next phase where there's a local outbreak, the R number is going above 1. You're just ignoring what she has said. You're ignoring the fact that the R number has gone above 1 in certain parts of the country. Why isn't your task force full stations go or whatever? Why aren't they attacking this problem? Why aren't they dealing with it? Why aren't they on the ground suppressing the R number?
Action. I spoke to Andy Burnham, for instance, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, because of the increased prevalence of problems relative to the rest of the country in the northwest. But overall, R remains below 1 between...
Of course it below if you ignore the science.
0.7 and 0.9 by the best estimate of SAGE, including in all parts of the country. So we are able to proceed. But again, I come back to this, and I will keep coming back to this. We proceed with caution, and we proceed with safety first.
He's taking the piss. Yeah, we proceed with safety first. So what we did was we eased the lockdown, opened up the country. Then we decided to implement a track and trace. And now we're going to have a plan eventually that will deal with scenarios where the R number is above 1.
Making sure that as those shops do reopen, and that it is safe to do so, and they do so in a way that's compliant with the COVID-safe working guidelines.
I take your point that you can't just pick out one study. You have to look at models across the board. So where are we currently on the COVID alert system that your government introduced?
Well, we're currently on level 4 and moving towards level 3, and I look forward to an update on that as and when we get more and more data in.
Because the reason I'm asking is that when you brought in the COVID alert system, the government showed some slides at the daily press conference, and those slides clearly stated that an easing of lockdown restrictions only begins at level 3. So I'm just a bit confused. Why is it that we are...
You're not the only one who's confused. Matt Hancock is confused as well.
...beginning the gradual relaxation of restrictions and social distancing measures while we're still at level 4?
Well, as you say, we're guided by the science throughout this. That's incredibly important. And the chief medical officer, the chief scientific advisor, who bring together all of that scientific advice, because, you know, there's 100 voices on stage and...
He doesn't have a clue. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He's the Secretary for Health, and he hasn't a clue what's going on. He's talking about, yeah, we're going to ease the lockdown, but we're going to follow safety first. But the R number is above 1 in some parts of the country. But we're going to ignore the models that point in that direction. And then when he's asked about, well, your plan, the one that you presented to the public, your plan is we're not going to ease the lockdown until we're into phase 3. But we aren't in phase 3 yet, and you're already easing the lockdown. And he hasn't a response for that. Is it any wonder that people have lost confidence in this government? Have lost confidence in Boris Johnson and his cabinet? What are they running on now? Is there anyone in the country who feels confident about these people? Feel that they are doing a good job? That they are following the science, presenting the facts, not being inconsistent, not making a complete shambles of the whole situation?
Each of them makes their points to the best of their scientific ability and understanding, and then that's brought together by the chief medical officer and the chief scientific advisor. They advise us, and we as ministers, democratically elected.
But that's not the question she asked. She asked, why are we going into... You're talking about us moving eventually into phase 3, but according to your plan, that is when you ease the lockdown, but you've already eased the lockdown. Now you're talking about, well, we have SAGE and there's a lot of different scientists. And what the hell are you talking about, Matt? You're completely on another planet.
Make the decisions. That's how it works. And the level is clearly moving from 4 to 3, and the reason for that is because we can see that...
So you're just ignoring your plan. It's like, we have this plan, okay, when we go from 4 to 3, we will ease the lockdown. And we've already eased the lockdown. Okay, here's the plan, throw it out the window. What's the point in having a plan if you're not going to follow the plan? What's the point in telling the public we have a plan if you're not going to follow it? This is what I don't understand. Is it they discovered after that they're not following the plan, or was there never any intention to follow the plan? The plan was just propaganda. The plan was just a scam. Present the public with a plan. We're not going to follow it, but hopefully the public don't realize that we're not following it. And they think, look how serious they are. They have a plan. I don't know what else to say here, guys. This is not just worrying, but it's almost comedy. You have the health secretary talking about a plan, talking about easing the lockdown, talking about the R number, when everything else is going in the opposite direction, when reality is conflicting with their message, with their narrative. Reality is conflicting with the message on the R number. Reality is conflicting with the message on the lockdown and on their plan. They're not following the science. They're following their own narrative. They pick and choose what they can use from the science, deliver to the public, and forbid the scientists from speaking, from presenting the actual facts. Because if they actually did present the facts, it would be chaos, I can only imagine. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks. Why not become a Patreon and enjoy access to our Discord server where we share news, chat, and have some fun? If you become a patron, you can also make video suggestions on topics that are important to you. Check it out via the link in the description.